Hi, my name is Nicole COF, and I will be discussing the use of recycled water. So there's no doubt that California is currently in a drought. Based on NASA's satellite data analysis, it says that it'll take about 11 trillion gallons of water, around 1.5 times the maximum volume of the largest U.S. reservoir, to recover from California's continuing drought. Now, the debate is on whether and how we handle the drought. So there's many alternatives such as conservation. However, conservation has negative economic implications. The Department of Water Resources states that California produces 250 different crops. 12 of them are solely produced in California. Another alternative would be desalination. However, it is costly in comparison to using recycled water, which is a third alternative. And in an article titled Water Matters, Renee Cho states that recycled water is also less expensive than desalinating seawater. In Orange County, for example, recycled water costs about $800 to sustain 2 families for 4 years versus desalination that would cost about $1,200. So therefore, my claim is the use of recycled water is necessary to combat the current state of drought in California. I will discuss mainly the uses of water, then I'll discuss where recycled water can be implemented, and lastly, the safety of recycled water. So my first claim is that most major uses of water don't require fresh water. The major use for water in commercial is agriculture. The Department of Water Resources states that in an average year, California agriculture irrigates 9.6 million acres using roughly 34 million acre-feet of water of the 43 million acre-feet diverted from surface waters to pump from underground. Now, this is roughly 80% of all the water that we take from reservoirs and stuff. So, on the other hand, civilians mostly use water for toilets, sinks, and showers. And Renee states that Americans use 24 gallons of water each day to flush their toilets, approximately 5.8 billion gallons in total. So this brings me to my second claim, that recycled water can be used for both commercial and civilian uses. The Environmental Protection Agency states that recycled water is most commonly used for non-potable purposes, meaning not for consumption, such as agriculture, landscape, public parks, golf course irrigations, cooling water for power plants and oil refineries, industrial processed water for such facilities as paper mills and carpet dryers, toilet flushing, dust control, construction activities, concrete mixing, and artificial lakes. However, the use of recycled water is not always effectively utilized in these operations. These require more water than is effectively being supplied. So Central Contra Costa Sanitary District, CCCSD, states that they produce 600 million gallons of recycled water every year to be used for industrial, landscaping, and plant operations. Renee also states that North City Water Reclamation Plant in San Diego is producing 1 million gallons of purified water each day. However, none of this water is being sent to reservoirs. This is based on public anxiety over the safety of recycled water, which brings me to my third claim, that recycled water is perfectly safe to reuse and drink. There are many treatments of filtration and disinfection that go into producing indirect potable reused water. So indirect potable reused water is defined as recycled water that eventually becomes drinking water. California classifies tertiary treated water as recycled. Now, tertiary treated water is the third stage of wastewater treatment. And in a pamphlet done by CCCSD, they state that tertiary treatment is when the water is passed through sand and filters, and this is similar to the purification of drinking water. And these filters further remove particles from the wastewater that wasn't originally caught. And at this point, the filtered water is classified, or almost meets drinking water standards, and then lastly goes through a disinfection with a chlorine bleach solution. And then finally adds the groundwater surface water reservoirs to be further purified by natural processes. So the water doesn't actually need to be put back into the reservoirs. It's only done to ease public's anxiety over recycled water. And Dr. Shane Snyder of the professor of environmental engineering at the University of Arizona, concludes that we're going to drink recycled water one way or another, whether it comes from downstream flow or groundwater. I strongly believe that we should do it through engineered systems where we can actively control the process. So, in conclusion, I stated that most major uses of water do not require fresh water. Then recycled water can be used for both commercial and civilian uses, and that recycled water is perfectly safe to reuse and drink. So therefore, the use of recycled water is necessary to combat the current state of drought in California.
All right, the proposition's clearly identified. I thought you did a good job on that. The preview consists of topics rather than claims. Now, when you do present them in the body of the speech, they are written as claims, so that helps quite a bit. But at the beginning, it doesn't really help the audience figure out how all of this stuff is going to be put together. There's a drought that's going on. I know why you're talking about the subject, that recycled water needs to be used. There needs to be an explanation about why this is controversial. And you make a passing reference to it during the speech where it has to do with public's comfort with the idea or their ability to accept this premise. I think you need to develop that a little bit more to demonstrate that there is enough controversy here, because otherwise it just sounds like you're explaining the scientific process by which recycled water can be used, as opposed to our objections to it are unreasonable or unnecessary, that in fact it is perfectly safe. The cost comparison stuff that you had at the beginning is mostly designed to eliminate competing sources of water as a reservation or rebuttal issue that's going on, so that your focus can be on the recycled water issue. And I thought you did a pretty good job on that, although the cost difference, I'm not sure how significant that would be. And if the real issue is public's perception of recycled water as being either unpleasant or dangerous, whether or not two families would be perfectly willing to split the $400 difference and get the desalinated water instead. I mean, it depends on what you mean by recycled water. If it's being recycled from, the wash or the runoff or something like that, yeah, okay, I'll save the $200 and drink the recycled water. If it's being recycled, you go to the sewage plant and we're squeezing out the stuff that was used to flush stuff, I think a lot of people go, you know what, a couple $100 a year extra would be okay by me if I'm just drinking desalinated water. So I appreciated the argument there, and I think that does develop a little bit of a comparison. The secondary points, as I said before, were clearly labeled. I thought you had good evidence on most of those points. You usually explain things. Sometimes the numbers run together because you got different ways in which the water is being measured. We've got acre feet and gallons of water, and so there are mixes on which these comparisons are being made. I did think that you had the right secondary points for the most part to develop the argument, and I thought you did a good job citing technical evidence from authorities in the body of the speech as well. You could probably look up a little bit and speak more forcefully to the audience to add to your credibility. I think you understand the subject pretty well. I like the summary at the end, kind of finishing off the argument, reminding everybody about what the main points were. Thank you.